Hey, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the Marvel Legends, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, and Hellcycle. Danny Ketch is the third Ghost Rider in Marvel Comics, debuting in Ghost Rider Volume 3, Number 1 from May 1990. He was created by Howard Mackie and Javier Salteras. Danny's a human demon kind of hybrid character from Brooklyn, New York, who possesses superhuman strength, durability, can project regular and ethereal flame, can travel interdimensionally, has a magical chain, and then possesses the ability to show characters all the harm and pain that they've caused other people. He can make them feel that through an ability called his penance stare. He also has his Hellcycle, which can ride on any surface, meaning that it can travel on water and that it can also go vertically up buildings and then just do all kinds of physics defying feats. All right, so let's go ahead and get this figure free from its plastic prison and see what we think about Ghost Rider. So this figure looks excellent. I think Marvel Legends is doing a fantastic job with their sculpt because the detail in this leather jacket is just excellent. I mean, it almost looks like a real leather jacket. I mean, not like it, I'm thinking like, oh, did they put leather on here? But like, it's enough to where it doesn't look like plastic, like just painted plastic. It's got some sort of texture to it and a shine to it that makes it like stand out from like your normal action figure that's just painted plastic. And that just looks excellent on this figure. The head sculpt is awesome. I think this might be the same Ghost Rider skull that we've been seeing. I could be wrong about that. But regardless, the flame effect and the skull, they just look so cool together. And I'm a big fan of this head sculpt. And then the pants look really cool too. They have a similarity to the leather jacket up at the top, where there's some texture to them that kind of sets it apart from just being like painted gray plastic that's just solid. And I'm a big fan of that. And one thing I think is really neat is that if you look around the back of the figure, he does put his wallet in his back right pocket, which is kind of neat because I do that. So I'm a fan of that. But the detail and the folds and everything on his pants are just excellent. And the boots also share the same leather texture and shine that the jacket does. And it just looks fantastic. Now, I will say, though, that the metal parts, like the spikes on his left leg, his both arms, his right fist, his belt, and his magic chain, look a little cheap, maybe. That sounds a little harsh. I don't know. They do have a shine to them. Like they do reflect light pretty well, which kind of makes them look like they've got like a metallicness to them, which definitely is better than just solid gray plastic that doesn't reflect light very well. But I think if anything on this figure, that's what suffers is those elements. I'm not necessarily sure what they could have done to make it better, but nevertheless, that's just kind of my impression of this. Now, the spikes on his shoulders look okay, but I think that's because they don't have the metallic base that goes underneath them like the rest of the spikes do on his outfit. Moving on to the Hellcycle, this thing looks awesome. It's very sleek and not too much detail. There's detail here, definitely, but it's not overdone. It's very simplified and not in a way that feels like it's cutting corners or anything. I think that's just the design of the Hellcycle. It's very sleek, but there is a bunch of detail on the windshield, I guess is what you would call it. The skull part where if you look at it in certain lights, you can see that, I mean, it kind of looks like it's been chewed on, but that gives it more of a driven, used kind of look, but like in a more of like a battle way, not like a used car way, if that makes any sense. The flame wheels are awesome. They look really neat. And they're semi-translucent, which is really cool and makes for a really awesome fire effect. And I'm a big fan of that. There's a lot of detail in the seat that has the leather look and shine to it. And then you've got your gauges and your handlebars and all of that. And that all looks good. And you've got some mechanical stuff going on underneath where the wheel is, and that's all cool. The fact that the detail is there is nice because they could have just overlooked that, but that's really neat. But for the most part, it's pretty sleek and simple, but still has like an elegance to it, if that makes sense. There's a flatness to the feel and paint on the black parts of the motorcycle, but the wheel parts have like this smooth shininess, glossiness to them, and that contrast just makes this thing come alive in a way that, again, like you wouldn't think that just by on paper saying that how much of a difference it makes, but it totally adds to a really cool visual dynamic that I really dig a lot. All right, so Ghost Rider comes with 4 hands, a flame chain, 3 Hellfire effects, and the Hellcycle. All right, now let's take a look at the articulation you're going to get out of Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. So starting at the head, you have 360 at the neck, but it is impeded by the collar and the flames. You could do it, but you risk popping the jaw out of its hinges. It pops right back in, so that's not that big a deal, but yeah, you do risk that. So it can do it, but not very easily. Got some side-to-side motion. Up and down is impeded as well, so there's not a lot of range there. But the jaw does hinge down, and that is freaking cool, and I'm a big fan of that. Then moving down to the arms, you have 360 at the shoulders, and then you also have a joint in there for up and down movements. You have 360 up the bicep. You have double jointed elbows at the elbow, and then you have 360 at the wrist, as well as a hinge in there for some added movement. Then moving on to the torso, you have 360 at the waist, which is like effortless, which is kind of concerning, but it feels fine. Then you have an ab crunch at the abs, which looks great. And then on down to the legs, you get a nice split there, and then you have 360 at the thigh cut right there, as well as double jointed elbow or double jointed knees. You have a calf cut for 360 down there, and then you have an ankle rocker, which I didn't think it was because it's really almost seamless there. But yeah, I was thinking that it might not be an ankle rocker, but it totally is. So you got all kinds of movement down there, but no toe joints. So, sorry for those of you who are big fans of the toe joint, but I do believe that is all the articulation you're going to get out of, well, actually, I guess his belt does articulate, or at least it rotates around him, but nevertheless, that is all the articulation you're going to get out of this Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. All right, now let's take a look at Danny's Hellcycle and see what kind of articulation you got here. There's not much, not really too much of any articulation here. The wheels do spin, but that's about it. They don't turn, like, I don't know bicycle terminology, motorcycle. I don't know Hellcycle terminology. But you don't even get, like, this can rotate a little bit, but I don't think that's necessarily intended to do that, but nevertheless it does move, and that looks like all the movable parts on this thing, which it's fine. I would have liked for the top part to kind of, the shield or whatever you want to call it, to move, but it is what it is. So there you go. That's all the articulation you're going to get out of the Hellcycle. Okay, so according to marvel.fandom.com, Danny stands at 5 foot 10 inches tall, but as Ghost Rider stands at 6 foot 2 inches tall. As Danny, he weighs 180 pounds, but as Ghost Rider, he weighs 220 pounds. This figure stands just shy of 7 inches to the top of his flame to the bottom of his boot, and he weighs around 3 ounces. The Hellcycle from front wheel to back wheel is around 9 inches and weighs around 9 ounces. So now let's take a look and see how he measures up to some other figures you might have in your collection. Here he is with Figma's Samus and Jada Toys' Ken Masters. Here he is with the Loyal Subjects Rocketeer and the NECA knockoff Mirage Raphael. Here he is with Masterverse Scareglow and NECA's 1987 animated series Business Casey Jones. Here he is with McFarlane's Batman 66 Lord Deathman and G.I. Joe Classified's Range Viper. Here he is with Marvel Legends Wolverine and Thing. Here he is with SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Skull and NECA's Alf. Here he is with Marvel Legends Rhino Wave Ghost Rider and Johnny Blaze with Hellcycle. This picture makes it look like Danny Ketch is like a foot shorter than the other Ghost Riders. He's slightly shorter, if I'm not mistaken, but definitely not as much as this picture is making it out to look. And here he is with Marvel Legends Terex Wave Ghost Rider and the Frank Castle Cosmic Ghost Rider. And here he is with the DC Multiverse Killer Croc and Marvel Select Hulk. Now here are some shots of the bikes that I've got with the Hellcycle. Here's the Hellcycle with Johnny's Flame Cycle and Batman's Death Metal Bat Cycle. And here it is with the Cosmic Ghost Rider's Hellcycle. Or whatever it was called, I don't remember. Ghost Rider was always one of those characters that I absolutely loved, but unfortunately could only afford to really learn about him through the Marvel comic cards, because I didn't have the money to buy individual issues often, and when you're a kid you only have so much money, so especially back then you had to take a lot of risks. And as much as I loved the character of Ghost Rider and the look and the aesthetic, I often played it safe with X-Men and Spider-Man. But anytime that he showed up in those books, I loved him. And then anytime that I was able to get the Marvel comic cards, like, I just loved him so much in every one of those sets, and I just devoured him and all of his like villains and just other allies and whatnot, just all of that. I was just enamored with it. And then I remember when Toy Biz put out their glow-in-the-dark Ghost Rider figures, and I was in heaven. I am a huge fan of glow-in-the-dark stuff. And then being able to invest in Ghost Rider action figures that came with motorcycles and glue in the dark, I was just over the moon, if you will. And he has remained one of my favorite characters since then. I remember seeing the issue of Fantastic Four where they have the new Fantastic Four, and it's him, Grey Hulk, Spider-Man, and Wolverine, and I was just like, yes, that's amazing. I love this so much. And so, yeah, I've been a big fan of Ghost Rider, although I've never seen the movies, which is weird. Probably because I didn't want it to taint my opinion of him. But being a kid from the 90s, Danny Ketch was my Ghost Rider. Like, Johnny Blaze was fine. That's cool. But Danny Ketch, something about this look and the bike, I just loved it. And so, yeah, when they announced they were making this figure again, because I had the original Marvel Legends, I think it was Series 3 figure when it came out, and it came with the motorcycle back then, and it was only $8. Like, come on, like, ugh. Still, I was like, yeah, no, I'm definitely buying this figure because I need it. I need it. And thankfully, it meets pretty much all of my expectations with a few minor gripes. The good stuff first, though. I think the sculpt looks awesome. I think they did a fantastic job here, especially with the texture on the jacket and the pants. And it just, the way the light catches it, it just looks really cool. Of course, the translucent flames and the skull head are awesome and extremely well done. And like, everything just looks really cool on him. And again, I still can't believe that they not only sculpted in his back jean pockets, but also a wallet in there. That's fantastic. He moves great, plays great, he feels great, he looks awesome. My gripe with him, though, is he's a little short. And I've seen some mods done where they switch out the boots and make him a little bit taller. And it's not by much. He doesn't need much, but he is a little bit shorter. And at first I was a little disappointed in that. But when I started comparing him to some other figures in other lines that I've got, I was kind of happy because he kind of works really well with Kamen Rider figures. Like, especially a lot of the newer ones, he can kind of go with that a lot better than some other Marvel Legends figures. So, that's a win for me. But that is something to mention here. If that's a thing for you, he is a little bit shorter. I do wish he would have come with a couple more hands, especially more pointy hands. That would have been cool. The other thing is that I feel like the spikes, I think I mentioned this earlier, they look a little cheap. They don't look bad necessarily, but I feel like they could have had a wash on them or something, and that's a real easy customization, like a real easy fix. But it would have been nice if I wouldn't have had to have done that. But they look great and they feel great. It's just that I think with a little bit of wash, it would have made them look a little bit less cheap. But other than that, as far as the figure's concerned, I really dig this figure and am very happy with it. And just wish that every Marvel Legends figure had this attention to detail in the sculpt and the texture of this figure. And then moving on to the Hellcycle, this thing is just like, get out of my dreams, get onto my Hellcycle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has this like sleekness to it, and it feels so smooth. It almost feels like an Apple box when you buy like a new Apple product. It just has this smoothness to it, and oh my gosh, I love that so much. And the bike itself is based on its design, which is very sleek and just kind of simple in a lot of ways. But there are a ton of details in this thing, and the translucent wheels are fantastic. And then all the damage on the shield is just such a simple but like elegant and cool looking bike. I really dig it. I'm probably gonna do the mod where people put some like yellow or some glow in the dark something on the eye holes of the windshield. I'm probably going to do that eventually, but even without it, it still looks really cool without it, but I think it would look even cooler with that. But yeah, no, the detail here is fantastic. This is great and it looks great, and I'm so happy to have this in my collection now because it feels like this was done right, if that makes any sense. And then all the flame effects are awesome. Like I can never get enough flame effects. I wish that they would continue to just keep including flame effects of all shapes and sizes and flames with any figure they can do that with, because I think it's fun and it adds to like a lot more of the like purchasing rationale, if you will. Besides those minor gripes, that's pretty much it. So yeah, if you're a fan of Ghost Rider, you definitely need to pick this up. You're not going to be disappointed. If you're a Marvel Legends collector, yeah, you're definitely going to want this. If you don't have it already, it's wonderful. Or if you're collecting action figures that have been in video games, I believe Ghost Rider was in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Or if you're just a fan of characters who ride things like horses, bikes, cars, or Hellcycles, then you will definitely not be disappointed with this version of Ghost Rider. All right, well, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments what's your favorite version of Ghost Rider. And do you think that everything should be glow in the dark? Let me know in the comments. And until then, else time.